Mayo Experience.
Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Mayo Experience. Experience.
Welcome to the Pat Mayo Experience presented by Underdog. It is a winning time celebration for the European Ryder Cup team. Ryder Cup Recap, Ryan Noonan will be on a little bit later on to talk about Sanderson Farms, some bets, and maybe even Ryder Cup 2. Geoff, this is your moment of glory. You've been saying this for 1.9 years now, how you wanted to bet on Europe. You did bet on Europe. You bet a lot of money on Europe. You bet sides with people on the internet on Europe, and by the skin of their teeth, they held on and won.
Yeah, by the skin of their teeth. Yeah, they never want to make it stress-free. That ended up being way too stressful, but they won. And now this group of the guys that, for the people that watch my show or make up like pretty much essentially all my favorite golfers, now get to join, Ryder Cup Legacy. They want a roadie. It was really built up over 2 years what this roadie would be and how hard of a road win it would be. And this group answered the bell, shaky on Sunday. Credit to Keegan. My mind's already thinking about 27 though. So excited.
Tim, you got to watch the singles today. Glazing Bryson the entire time. The most impressive singles performance of all time, you called it, in a match that he halved.
I said it's one of the most impressive performances we've ever seen. To get down 5 after 7. And
getting down 5 does not make it impressive.
No, but
that's not impressive
to
getting
fight
down
it
5.
all the way back with everybody in the world taking their shots at Bryson, and for him to get all the way back and get the half point, that was incredibly impressive.
I felt like Bryson was, the Scotty played very poorly, Geoff. And everyone shit on him, rightfully so, because he didn't have his best stuff, and they needed him to have his best stuff. But I felt like Bryson really came out as the big loser in all of this. We saw old Bryson, the Bryson that people don't like. We saw all weekend.
You got a bit of everything. You got like the full bag. Most of the majors, like you haven't gotten the negative. This sort of competition brings out everything of everyone. And he played 5 sessions and it was inevitable. You got like the full experience. You were reminded of like how fucking annoying he is. You were reminded of how fucking incredible he is. Yeah. So, it was the full bag. And I'm one of these people. I get these texts like, oh, the PGA misses Bryson. Like, I totally disagree. I don't know. Maybe I'm in the minority.
I agree with Geoff. Tim, you're on the other side.
I think it would be great to see Bryson week in, week out in all the elevated events. It'd be a lot of fun to have him back.
I really don't agree.
He injects a level of life and interest into things that otherwise aren't really there.
He does, but I think that's because we get him in such a limited capacity.
Yeah, but I think if you saw him more often, it would just be more exciting.
No, it's a diminishing return with him because he's unlikable.
I would go as far to say, and maybe this is like an unpopular take, like for an elevated event, I do not think like the ratings increase would be anything but like minimal, like negligible is the word I'm looking for. If Bryson was playing,
it feels like
I don't think it's possible for the PGA Tour to have better TV ratings than they currently have.
I think there'd be like an initial, like if you had all the live guys come in. And you had a few of them, like there would be an instant peak. But if you had all of the live guys play in every single elevated event, eventually people would just be like, Like there's a novelty to Bryson that he's must-see TV when he shows up. Because if it was truly a thing where he really commanded this much of a market and people were that interested, people would watch live and they don't.
Yeah, he alone can't carry things, but I just think he adds a real extra flair that people enjoy.
What he was pulling off today was phenomenal. I wouldn't go as far as Tim, but full marks. And that sort of felt like once that match turned, that's when it like actually felt like holy shit. Like holy shit. Like now we're in for something.
Thank goodness for Aubert, because without him, you probably would have lost. Well, thank God for Aubert and the envelope.
The envelope.
Those two things were the deciding factor.
Do you think that rule goes away, Geoff?
What do you replace it with? Orange should have played? Like, what would have happened? I don't understand.
I think that they will change that rule because it almost became a thing. Although, what is it, like the second time it's ever happened in Ryder Cup history?
Yeah.
Like people aren't intentionally pretending that they're hurt so they don't have to play. They want to be playing. I think they'll just bring an alternate next time. Each team gets one alt.
That is plausible. Maybe that's just the easy answer. There's enough guys loitering around that you feel like could pick up sticks. I'm shocked the tie is still possible.
Well, it's not really possible.
But it's always possible because no matter how many matches you have, because halves are available, you can always tie.
Yeah, what do you mean 14-14? Like, it's not possible, but it's definitely like a permutation of 28.
If you had 29
points.
events instead of 28, if there was an event that was halved, you could have 14 and a half, 14 and a
Yeah,
half.
but I'm saying there can be a tie, but there's not really a tie because the retaining team retains the cup.
Correct.
They get it's like getting counted out. And you're the Intercontinental Champion, or there's a time limit draw.
It's like baseball. The tie goes to the runner.
Yeah, the tie goes to the champion.
Yeah.
You got to beat the champion. You got to beat the man to be the man. You can't just tie your way.
Yeah, there's no way to
title.
avoid it.
I mean, it would be fun to have some sort of like playoff. I think that would be very exciting, but I don't think they like playing around with these Ryder Cup rules. They've been around forever. This is how they want to keep them.
Yeah. It was two tournaments. It was the team events where the European team was vastly superior, and the individual events where the Americans were. I never understood why the U.S. were favored. They don't have the talent level the Europeans have outside of Scheffler and Bryson, but they made the U.S. the favorites. The U.S. did really well, in a comeback, but like they just don't have the horses to beat the Europeans, and they lost. I'm not totally. I shouldn't like when Lowry made the putt. Dan Hicks was like, "Oh, one of the great upsets." It's like Europe's a better team. Like they were going to win, and they did.
You say that I mean, you hit that one coming into it that you thought the Europeans were a much better team. But when we saw the singles matchups listed one by one, you looked at it, it's like, and maybe the Americans do have the better team. Like when you looked at those matchups, the Americans were favored in most of them.
I mean, I would say the one thing, if anything, to come out of this Ryder Cup, which is potentially like, other than some of the crowd stuff that Europe seems like in the moment, they say they're going to like want to rein in just for betterment of the future, is for some reason, America is like always favored. They're always favored. And I think maybe this is pretty naive for me to say, I think that is like over. I think that is over now.
I disagree.
I mean, Europe wins this far more often than they lose. They went through the stats, right? How many of the last 11 of the last 15 and 5 of the last 7 or 6 or whatever. Like,
yet they're always underdogs,
which tells you that's just a misprice. They're mispriced. The Europeans, by and large, are better. That's not likely to change. In the
they
next
have
couple
a
of years.
better institutional infrastructure for whatever the hell has to happen on the first 2 days.
They play better team golf, and this is not an individual event. It wraps up individually, but the majority of the points, 16 of the 28, are in team events.
I would say it basically just breaks down to that the Americans win because, generally speaking, the Americans have the better talent on either side.
They don't generally win. That's kind of the point. They don't generally win.
But when they played at Whistling Straits and they just absolutely dominated there, it's just they don't play. They're all individuals, whereas the Europeans do really seem to relish playing as a team, whereas the Americans don't.
Yeah, and that tells you the Americans need to change that mindset.
But how do you do that? That's like an institutional change that guys aren't going to have. Like the only guy who really seems to enjoy playing as a team is Justin Thomas.
Yeah.
Who came out as a big winner on the American side, I feel like.
Yeah, he had a great day.
For sure. In terms of like veterans with majors and lots of Ryder Cups, like it's now officially like sort of his, the leader guy. The thing about 2016 though, is 2016, you can clearly see like the delineation of the European tour. That's when like the guard that we remember like changed hands and they were in a bit of an in-between phase in 16. And also like a lot of goobers ended up on the team. But it was like an in-between of the eras from what was before that, and then was certainly what started after that in Paris.
Yeah.
I would tend to agree.
And then 21, they were also, that was just like a peak moment.
They got outgunned in 21, but that's also when the best of like the last era of American golfers were still like. Dustin was still really good. Yeah. Spieth was still really good. Brooks was still really good.
Yeah. That was a great era. And that Pat, like we've done this thing. That was a brown bag. That was a brown bag behind like a gas station That's how good that USA team was. As much as I always want to find a way to back Europe, that was certainly not even an option for that one. I mean, I wouldn't even know how to begin to figure out how they do it. It just seems like there's just like a genuine camaraderie there. That's like not tried to be, that they don't try to like make happen in a month's buildup and the event. It's like it genuinely exists.
They don't put the worst possible mathematical pairings together twice.
Yeah, just run. Well, it didn't work the first time. It's got to work the second time. Jared, you want to chime in?
Yeah, it was just thinking, it might sound a little corny, but what I said to my buddy is, like, America are very much playing for their country, but Europe are playing for their country, but also for each other.
Well,
is the vibe that I got.
Yeah, because they're not from the same country.
No,
so
like what is to say you're playing
These
for
guys
Europe?
win a match and you think they're going to start making out with each other.
Yeah, they love it.
Yeah. That's another thing I noticed with Bryson too. Like Bryson was there to play for his country and himself.
Yes, he was.
Yeah.
Like he was not there to play as a part of a team. He wanted the glory. It felt like that's just the exceptional exuberance after every shot. Like it felt like a lot of things that I find with Bryson. It felt very manufactured.
Were I the U.S. team, like I would pick my next captain actually extremely quickly.
Tiger is the captain,
and then like really focus on developing an actual structure that can win in 4 years' time. Understanding that Ireland is probably rough, but I'd even commit to a captain for a 2-year stretch.
So
Say, I'm
Tiger
going
got
to give
a
you the
free
next
pass?
2 riders to get us ready for Hazeltine.
Tiger got a free pass for whatever happened this time around, for why he didn't want to do it. He was being maybe like pulled in directions by like trying to fight a live back. There were just things. I like to defend Tiger as much as anyone. You know, my wife drives a car. I joke because it saved his life. Not actually, she likes the car. That being said, shame on Tiger Woods if at this moment in USA Golf, he is not there to pull them up. That he is not there waiting to do this and to help be part of the solution after they lose this event, which, I mean, full credit to America for showing up today. It was a bit, I don't want to, like, I guess you can't call it an ass whipping anymore. They showed so much heart and played so great today. But if, like, shame on Tiger Woods if he is not there to be part of this as they pull themselves up from the mud from losing their once a decade home game.
I thought that the U.S. was able to really ride off the crowd on Sunday. It felt like the crowd, because it felt like it was so out of reach, that people who showed up on Sunday just really wanted to be there.
I agree.
And that was the better crowd all week. Like, some of the shit was pretty disgusting.
Oh, my goodness.
And it's probably like 8 people, honestly.
I don't know. I wasn't there. I can't tell you how frequent it was. But, like, that's the sort of stuff that will, like, get rid of the tournament because the best players won't play anymore if that's what they're going to have to be subjected to.
Yeah.
And they don't need that.
I mean, it's really just the Rory stuff that just sounded disgusting.
That was by far the worst. But the stuff that was being said to other golfers is like,
listen, one of the fun, some of the fun of the Ryder Cup is that stuff.
but it can be done in a funny
There's like
and
a
classy
line,
way.
though.
Yes,
And
exactly.
I don't know
There's
why
a line.
in like Wisconsin, like I don't know
Well,
why. in,
really, your question is going to be, why is it in Wisconsin and Minnesota people aren't abrasive assholes like they are in New
I
York?
mean, Geoff,
Well, I
how
was
many
gonna
months did
say-
you spend saying New York sports fans are actually the worst?
My point would be is maybe the PGA of America just needs to like keep this thing in places that are obsessed with college football, where college football is like the home team, and no college football for all like the psychos and stories you see on the internet. Like the fans understand like rivalries and how it like works for the most part. I don't know if I'm making any sense there, but you went somewhere like New York and they were told for 2 years that they're like, I don't know, to be lunatics, and it crossed the line. And it would be nice if there's like a demarcation point where Europe uses a home game to like draw a definitive line in the sand of like, no, like just because you got something like that doesn't mean like we get our turn. Like, no, it's time to rein it back.
I
a bit.
agree.
They won't, though, because Europeans save that exclusively for European football, where they act like absolute lunatics and say the absolute worst things and throw shit onto the field. Golf tends to be a bit classier when it comes to that sort of stuff. The only two things I really had a problem with the fans were some of the Rory stuff that was being said about, like you said, like Rory's dad and stuff like that. Just awful. And like talking while he was trying to hit. Like the Europeans like jeer at the American team.
Oh, that's fine.
But then when it's their turn to hit the ball, they're quiet.
Of course
like there's still that golf part of
The
it.
next two are in Minnesota and San Francisco. You'll have better class of fan there.
There's also like a lot of stories on ground. Like to Pat's point, like it's probably like 12 people. Like anytime they were looking for who did it, there were full like throng of people like pointing out the asshole.
Yeah,
Like,
listen, I don't want to besmirch most of the people.
No,
I'm sure
you're
like
right.
99 were fine, but like you don't. This is the only place where you've like seen that happen.
Yes, exactly. It's just unbelievably terrible. It can't be allowed to go on.
Yeah,
It'll ruin
there's
it'll end
jokes,
the
like,
event.
Fitzpatrick like still breastfeeds or Rom on Ozempic. Like it'd be funny.
Like that's fine. Like, I don't care
Yeah,
about
Yeah,
that.
that's just
like-
jeering. That's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, like there's a way, there's good ways and funny ways to do it and be a jerk, but they go, it was just so abhorrent. And I guess how they did it. Do you guys think like today gets Keegan off the hook,
Yes.
or it
Yes.
almost polarizes
Yeah,
the simple mistakes from early and the half points won and lost everywhere?
Keegan will no longer be remembered as an absolute disaster of a Ryder Cup captain. It'll be, he was able to pull the team back to nearly winning, and like we're never going to give it to him again, but they put on a good show, they perform well, and that's So he burnished a lot of his reputation on that.
I will say, even in his post interview, he seemed like crushed that they lost, which I like more than like Fienberg was like, bad choices, I guess.
Yeah,
See ya.
no, he
Well,
was.
he knew
See you
he
later.
would be though.
He was crushed, but he did it to himself. He made bad decisions on Friday and Saturday.
At least he owned up to the worst decision that he made. I wrote about it. BetSportsGolf.com is where you can find some of my articles right now, where I'm going to be posting them. But just he set the course up totally wrong. Like with the teams that were brought, growing out the rough and making it as hard as possible with like narrow fairways was the move for the Americans. That's the team that they brought. They didn't bring the bomber team. That was the European team.
You're going to bring Ben Griffin. You don't play him once. You either play him a couple of times or don't bring him. There's other guys you could take. I don't understand.
I like as much as like he's going to get chastised for the Morikawa English pairing that went out twice, and rightfully so. But it's less so that like you have to play them once. They have to play somewhere.
Yes.
Might as well bury them in alt shot. Don't play them again. But having Spawn coming in as like the number 2 guy in points, being one of your better dudes, and not playing him until like the afternoon, like have him out in the first session, and not having Cam Young. Like Cam Young came out as the biggest winner from the American team. He tied Xander for the most points.
Yep.
He played lights out. He carried fucking Bryson in the only match that Bryson won.
Yep.
It was all Cam Young. That he didn't go. When I did my projections, I had him out with Bryson in round 1. Like, why wouldn't you play those guys together?
I guess they tried JT and Bryson. And
But JT is an awful alternate shot player.
Yeah,
Like, he is
JT
not made for alt
yeah,
shot.
I would not have had him playing
even
the
early
alternate
in
shot.
that match, Bryson was bailing him out, and even yesterday early, Bryson was bailing out Scotty. But just to send out Morikawa again, and then to be asked like why, it was like, oh, these guys, they got a lot of pride, and they really wanted another go at it. Like that to me was like, like now you should have played, because if you're not going to do anything and making hard decisions and telling guys that they're not playing is like part of the job. It's a hard part of the job, but you don't have the guts to be like, this shit's not flying again. Like if you're going to do nothing, then you might as well play and be captain. Like if you're going with the exact same plan you had 3 weeks ago in a boardroom, then you should have played. If you're never changing it, then you should have played.
And
I'm
if they
not wrong.
well, we were talking like if they knew they were going to set it up this way, they picked the wrong guys as captain's picks.
Absolutely, they picked the wrong
They
guys.
should have fucking picked Akshay. Just have guys who pin seek the entire time.
I agree.
Yeah, it turned into a pins. Yeah, there's a lot of pin seeking.
You said Spieth.
I
I
feel
would have.
bad.
If you're going to take Ben Griffin and play him once, you might as well have taken Spieth and played him once and see if you could ride the hot hand in the opening foursomes.
And Griffin was fine. He won his singles match.
Also,
Like,
they
he should have been played.
Also, the U.S. are terrible at alternate shot. Why would you lead
know,
with
I feel
alternate
so-
shot? You should have led with foursomes. I don't understand why Keegan thought it would be a smart idea to start with alternate shot rather than 4-ball. I don't understand that.
It's hard
Poor
not
decision
to
making.
Feel bad, honestly, as much as I made fun of them in so much of the lead up. Like the true Long Islanders, like their course got embarrassed. Like the guys that are going to play it in 10 days are going to get it harder than they got it this week. and they're like, these fans embarrassed me. This isn't my golf course. What the fuck is going on my property?
Yeah.
Okay, let's rate before we get out of here. Let's rate the big winners from each team, the big losers from each team. The big winners on the U.S., I'm gonna say, are Cam Young, by far number one. I'm gonna put Justin Thomas at number two. I thought he was the one he was basically Rory's bodyguard on Saturday, trying to get the crowd to be like, Jesus Christ, fellas, like calm down.
Mm-hmm.
Like when your opponent who is losing to you is still feeling bad for you based on some of the shit that's being said, like, that's a problem.
Those are the only two winners.
Only two, because, Cam Young is like, he's now like maybe a guy. He cements himself as like, that. And JT sort of cements himself as like the veteran American leader, like cemented now, it seems. Xander and Cantley, they do their thing. They'll play a lot, but they're, they have their own quiet confidence about them. JT, he's a bit of a try hard in the rah-rah, and that's USA needs one of those. So good for him.
Keegan and Scheffler? Morikawa in English?
Nothing.
I mean, English, whatever. Morikawa, big L week. Scotty,
nothing.
Yeah, not like whatever. Like, I don't know. People are gonna ride him hard. I'm a bit of an apologist.
Well, again, if your best player is Scotty Scheffler, why do you try to make the course as easy as possible? To give and people are like, well, he won the Byron Nelson. It's like, yeah, he played against. Listen, the C tier of the PGA Tour. He didn't play against these guys.
You wanted to make that hard. Yeah. You had multiple U.S. Open winners on your team. Why didn't you play it that way? You could have made that place tough where pars were winning holes.
They made the course like set up for guys at the St. Jude, like Rowe, Spawn, and Tommy.
Yeah, made no sense.
Yeah, it was really strange in that regard. And for Europe, I feel like Lowry turned out to be the star. Lowry was the star.
No one got it better than Lowry. Like,
Rose was a big winner.
Rose was a big winner.
Lowry, Rose, Tommy,
and Rory for sure.
Yeah,
at the iconic moment of the Ryder Cup, turning around, telling that person off, and then sticking it to 8 feet. That is the moment that people will remember from this Ryder Cup.
And Lowry that's the moment. The eagle, and then telling like 5,000 people to fuck off.
Yeah, that too.
This is why, Tim. This is why I honestly say this event, like up until the back nine Sunday of the Masters, it's better than the Masters. I agree with you.
And Luke Donald is the big
one. Luke Donald
will now go down in lore as the greatest or one of the greatest team captains ever to be a part of the Ryder Cup.
I do appreciate how both the commentary and Keegan said that about Luke Donald. As it almost feels like, well, how can we beat the best Ryder Cup captain of all time?
But it's true.
Yeah, he's been great.
I would be, and when he was asked if he wanted the third one, he didn't say no. He said, I just want to enjoy this one right now.
He should be the captain until he loses.
It should be a James Bond situation. It is his job until he turns it down.
It's his job until he loses. Like if he loses in Ireland, it's no longer his.
But then he would turn it down the next time.
I'm not going to lie. It doesn't almost matter what happens from here on out. He's almost like the godfather of it.
Like, is it smart for him just to walk away? He almost will
pick the next captains. The next captains, like he'll need his blessing. He is now like the godfather of the institutional infrastructure.
20 years from now, if Europe goes through a trend of losing a couple Ryder Cups in a row, they'll go back to Luke Donald to tap him on the shoulder to bring him back in. Absolutely.
When Victor's too high to do it. Yeah, he's got his Roxbury syndrome on the
Geoff.
go.
I know we got to run, but like, do you have like a Ryder Cup memory thing like you do with like major championships?
With some things, yeah.
I have like if I tell you Ryder Cup, what's the one thing that you think about? Because I have the one thing that I think about.
I mean, obviously the 99
Medina for me.
99 at the Country Club.
Like that
the Medina comeback.
But that's that's an entire thing. Like what's a Ryder Cup moment that you remember? Mine is the Reed making that putt in Rory's face and the quieting the crowd.
That was a huge one.
Still like Poulter, Medina, Rose, Medina. But Tim, or either, I guess, Pat, if you have the memory of it, because I don't. Looking back like this week and like the road, just how the European history and the road wins. 2004, how on earth did they win that?
Well, they played
like 9 of the top 10 players in the world.
Phil and Tiger were played together, I think, twice and lost both of their matchups because they were terrible teammates to have together. So that's part of it.
Oak Hill, right? It was Oak Hill.
I think that's right, yeah.
Just looking at the rosters in the world rankings, and that's when like world rankings meant something, not when like Rahm is like the 60th in the world. Nonsense.
It almost feels like Rahm didn't try on live. Like he showed up here and he seemed reinvigorated.
It's
Whereas,
almost like Rom has yet to figure out how to perfectly channel Liv. Like he came in second in the PGA Championship, so I don't want to be too hard.
I'm not saying that he sucks. It's just like he doesn't win on live, but when he comes here, he feels like John Rahm again.
Yeah, that's right.
It's not like he's losing to Dean.
No, because you're back in like the highest stakes moments.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Liv just in a way that Liv felt like perfect for Brooks, and I guess Bryson. It doesn't feel like it's best for John Rahm's like mental prep in some ways. Like he needs to be dueling Scheffler weekly.
Yeah, I would tend to agree.
I agree too.
To be his best. In a way, it seems like Bryson and Brooks didn't.
I mean, Bryson's the only guy who's gotten better since he's gone to live. He's the only guy. I guess maybe.
I mean,
Tom
Neiman, I guess, but like, what
winning.
Neiman doesn't do anything in any real tournament.
I guess. Maybe they'll allow him to play in the President's Cup.
If it's not Tiger, who is the captain, though?
I mean,
Snedeker, Webb Simpson?
Because Phil is just out, right?
And what could Tiger be doing?
Phil's on Twitter begging to be captain.
I think they should give it to him on a road one. Go ahead, Phil.
Listen,
have your time.
I love Phil. I really hope Phil can get it again. He is... I like to think when the people who were involved in the past are no longer involved and it's less personal for like the people at the PGA of America making the decision, he'll get his turn.
I just want a Phil versus Poulter
but
Ryder Cup. I want to see that.
He's turned into like crazier than Rumble Fienberg.
It's true. Rumble Phil was like a real guy now.
Yeah.
I wonder what he's posting on Truth Social.
You guys make a joke. That thing is real.
Savion Williams got his carry.
I'm trying to think who in the United States I would next want to be captain.
It's like going back to Stricker again, or
like can't do that.
It's Webb Simpson, Brant Snedeker.
Well,
these guys.
Why not let Keegan do a road game? Like, why should this thing,
here's the problem.
No.
Here's the problem.
Should this thing not be like a two-term thing?
No,
because
you
don't think it should. The captaincy should be.
I actually said at the beginning, I think they should give the next captain a two.
Just let Tiger do both of them if he wants to do it. If not. You run into a situation with Keegan right now, and this is what I think would happen with Morikawa in English, is like he sees these guys every week. He plays on tour with them. He's friends with them. He didn't want to piss anyone off.
No, that's true.
Is what it turned into. He didn't want to make anyone feel like how he felt by being left off the team. And it clouded his decision making. I wouldn't put it on him. The one part that people seem to overlook is that the Europeans played fucking great. That's why they won.
Yeah, it's true.
Like Tim said, it was the tale of two tournaments. Thursday, Friday, or Friday, Saturday, one of these guys, everyone hit all the putts. And then today it seemed like the Americans hit so many putts and Europeans couldn't hit any putts. And that's just really all it came down to.
Last thing, whose fault was the fight, which was the best part of the Ryder Cup, really?
Bryson and Bryson's caddy. It wasn't
Bryson and Bryson's caddy, right?
Yeah, they were at fault. And then Bryson like making it a thing. Walking to the next tee, I thought was like a really low moment for him. Well, and like once you're like chirping with Tommy, like Tommy, here's the thing. Tommy and Justin Rose like probably at top of this, but are there two more like respected, classy, high-end guys, like regardless of country or any affiliation in golf than Tommy and Justin Rose that everyone universally be like all around GG?
I don't know if it's true or not, but there was a rumor that when they were walking to that next hole, that Tommy Fleetwood whispered to Bryson, "Tougher than YouTube, mate."
Stuart Sink has never captained the team.
No,
that's interesting.
He's been passed over. Yeah, that's weird.
And was on the 2002, 2004, 2006, 2008, 2010 Ryder Cup team.
And a major winner.
You know what? Stuart Sink would be like the next vet in line.
And he's a good guy to throw up as an open champion, a good guy to throw out in an Irish.
Yeah.
And he's removed enough from the current players where he doesn't give a shit about
And I think you actually need that, which is why I don't like the idea of giving it back to Keegan. I think you have to be distanced enough that you don't care whose toes you step on when you say, I don't care how well you've been playing on the tour. You're playing poorly this week. Go sit down.
I really wish Keegan at some point in the process, even if it was a month ago, it feels like just said, I'm not the cat. I'm going to play Webb and Gary or whoever's there. You guys just pick the teams, pick the lineup. I'm playing.
As I continue to go through with this captain stuff, I mean, the captain only matters if he impacts you negatively. Like making the right decision isn't hard. But all the American captains, like the past few times, have just made the worst decisions possible. Luke Donald just makes good decisions. He's like, oh, here's the statistically best matchup we can have. Let's do that. Not the worst, because I'm feeling it.
Agreed.
All right. Geoff, any final thoughts?
I can't wait. I can't wait for the next one. That was so much fun.
Tim wants to go.
The Keegan
All I'll
captains-
say is, like, if the U.S. team wants to play like this, I like the internationals next year in Medina.
No, the internationals are not winning an
what did you
American
just-
President's Cup.
As long as you allow the live guys to play, I like the international teams. Very
Yo,
much.
sorry, Scotty wasn't playing Bezaden out in KH Lee this week. Sorry. Like, what are you talking about?
They went 5-0 last year on the road. 5-0.
Live like that needs to be an olive branch. Live into those so that the internationals could get maybe a little bit of juice. But it's great, and thanks to Keegan for the year, because it really made my favorite event. Like, it was because of the captaincy thing and will he play, will he won't play. It felt like it was just the greatest year of Ryder Cup talking we've ever had. Now it's the lull. People want to murmur about captaincy, but we'll be back in a year and I'll be annoying the shit out of Pat.
It's true. But you don't get jazzed up for President's Cup like this. Thanks for sticking around. I appreciate it. Thanks to all of you people for tuning in. Coming up next, right after this, is going to be Ryan Noonan from BetSperts.com and The Rabbit Hole to break down the Sanderson Farms. We're back, baby. Stay tuned. All right, let's switch some gears, bringing in Ryan Noonan from BetSpertsGolf.com to talk about the Sanderson Farms 2025 picks, bets, preview. But first, we just did the Ryder Cup recap with Cust and Geoff Noonan. So you're the first American that we've had on the show, loser. How you feeling about it?
You know what? I think at the end of the day, we just wanted some theatrics on Sunday, and it very much delivered, surprisingly, because definitely didn't think that was going to be the case, obviously, heading in, because it was an unmitigated disaster for the first 2 days. There's obviously a lot of Monday morning quarterbacking here. Keegan left himself open to that for sure. And, you know, I think there's obviously a lot of easy, low-hanging fruit discussions around Harris English and Colin Morikawa, but like they went up against Fleetwood Mac both times. Like, they just were kind of the sacrificial lamb and took a bullet. No one was beating those teams, so at least we didn't waste like a good duo that could have won somewhere else along the way. Now the course setup, I think, is a problem. I love hearing that Keegan's already, I think, even mid-tournament realized that was the wrong setup for the U.S. Look, the Euros are awesome for some reason. I think part of it is the President's Cup. The fact that like the U.S. team has to run back a team event every year. I think there's some novelty to it on the European side that I think gets them up for it a little bit more. I think the like historical pieces that matter a lot on the European side, they really lean on like all the Seve stuff and all those things that just go a little bit different. Whereas like Tiger is the anchor for these guys on the U.S. side growing up, and Tiger didn't seem to really give a shit about team events or really show up very well. I mean, he was also always paired with like jabronis and never really had a shot, but there's obviously something cultural, excuse me, on the European side, and it played itself out pretty big time this weekend.
I made this point to Geoff and Tim. Actually, I think it was actually Tim who made it, is that it feels like the European guys are playing for themselves in certain, like they're playing for each other. Like they really do care about who does well. They all want to do well. They want to win. Where outside of Justin Thomas, it just feels like it's a team of individuals on the American side, because that's what American golf is. There's just more team golf in Europe that way. Or maybe it's because it's a collection of countries, not one country, that they're not just playing for flag only. They kind of have to play for themselves. It's not like it's a US versus Great Britain kind of thing. You got guys from all over Europe coming into it. It's the biggest thing I felt about Bryson, is that Bryson just, he really tried to put himself before the team, it felt like. And maybe he was trying to do it to rile up the team, but it just felt like, hey, look at me, I'm Bryson.
Yeah, I mean, that's always the MO of Bryson. That was the Brandel attack, I guess, pre-event, was that Bryson's the bots on YouTube. And it just kind of felt like it was a little bit out of nowhere. And there's something to that, right? Like in terms of even going back to the English Morikawa thing, that math piece, like the worst pairing possible on Data Golf's rankings, that's something that the European team is never going to miss. Like the discussion on Scotty with the caddies on Friday night, you should probably switch up the order that you and Henley go off. Like the European side is never missing that. And like the caddies aren't initiating that conversation, right? That's captain driven. So I think we can get into these discussions on how overstated is the role of the captain or what's involved. And that was some of the stuff we discussed for months talking about can Keegan do this? Like Keegan still is a competitive player. Whereas, Luke Donald has said he's kind of had to take a step back from his game in terms of planning, preparation, and really what his focus is. All the captains. There's also like this hierarchy, like you work your way through on the Euro side. There's continuity, not just in the roster, but in the coaching staff as well, and the vice captains. Where there's really, other than Furyk, no continuity from what happened in Rome. Then maybe we can argue that why would we want anything? But like I think there's something to be said for some familiarity in their roles. A lot of the like American vice guys, those guys are still playing. Like they're still very much playing and they're competitive. Whereas I think you're not seeing like Toto it up in the World Tour and be competitive anymore. So there's just something culturally that's going to be really hard for the US to break. And we had a bunch of guys in like Whistling Straits that we thought were going to be ascending and be a part of this for a very long time. And some of those guys regressed. Even JT, who's still in the team, didn't ascend. We haven't had like the younger guys come in and backfill. A lot of those guys who didn't even make this team. Like we thought, Akshay maybe could be on this team, or maybe you get like a Davis Thompson taking like a step forward. And, you had guys that played really well have taken a step back, and that just hasn't happened on the Euro side.
It's funny because with the way that Keegan set it up, and I mean, you edited my column that was up on betsportsgolf.com. It's where my golf stuff is going to live now going forward, not like my live stuff, although my live stuff will probably be up there too if I ever do any. But all my PGA stuff is going to be at betsportsgolf.com if you want to check it out, the articles. And also in the newsletter, sub to the newsletter for free as well, down in the description, was I wrote about how it was a horrible idea that what they proposed for this setup just favored the Europeans, not the Americans.
Yeah, I mean, this is a course where, we saw 74, 4 over final round for Koepka here back in 2019 for the PGA. This course has some teeth, and you have some guys that look, yeah, they have Lowry, who's just kind of pea shooting it out there, but we had more of those guys. We had more guys playing from the fairway. Like the impetus of the Henley-Scotty pairing and why it was so advantageous is that Henley's going to find fairways, and Scotty, regardless of whether it's a wedge or a long iron, has a massive advantage. They're going to be like elevated greens. They're going to be firm and fast. And look, they weren't. They took on a bunch of rain. And at that point, like toothpaste is out of the tube. You can't grow out the rough faster. It just became a wedge fest and a putting contest. And, that played right into the Euros' hands. I think they had 6 of the best 7 putting performances for the week. Even, Sepp didn't strike it very well, made everything. Rosie lives for this event and continues to show up in big, big ways. And again, any of the guys that we had questions about on the Euro side, I think they did a really good job at just kind of covering them with a veteran who played really well. It's just, like historically, we're going to remember it differently, but it was not really close.
Just even to go back to it, like if you set it up like a U.S. Open and make it as difficult as possible, look who was on this American team. You got Bryson, who's won 2 U.S. Opens, J.J. Spawn, who just won the U.S. Open, Morikawa, Xander, and Harris English, all guys that have played really well at U.S. Opens over the years. Scotty is another one who just thrives at difficult courses. Cam Young is another guy who lights up the U.S. Open. Like,
Burns, he was in the final group this year.
Yeah, like, what's the common denominator here? It's like, make it as hard as possible and you win.
Yeah. It's, I like at least acknowledgement in the middle of it that was the wrong setup. And at a certain point, it's out of their hands in terms of pin placements and stuff like that. But like he did have an impact on tees, wanting to say, hey, we're better wedge players. They're better long iron players. We need to move some of these tees up. And then you can't have like 3-inch rough here. I mean, this course was like a local muni, and that was supposed to be, it's iconic in terms of how difficult it could play. And it obviously did not serve the U.S. well at all.
And if you knew that you were going to do this, why pick the guys that you picked? In that sense, like why bring Ben Griffin with you at this point? Like bring Akshay. Like this was an Akshay course. Yeah. Bring fucking Tom Hoagie if this is the way you were going to set it up.
Yeah, no, I think without a doubt, there's a lot of very easy Monday morning quarterbacking. I just trying to think of how do we move forward. Like there's, we're kind of missing a generation too on the U.S. side, right? There's the
It's
Phil Tiger gap
No,
too.
it's there. It's just they don't. As you said, the guys didn't develop in time. And I'm not even talking about the Mavs. I mean, Mav could have been on this team. He actually probably would have been very good on this team with the way that the course was set up. Just big drives, wedges, and make all the putts. They didn't have those elite longer players who were also great putters. All of their best putters were like the shorter players outside of Bryson. And I mean, Scotty couldn't make anything for the first.
And Burnsy
2 days.
again. Burnsy was terrible. I mean, we Burns his bombs and birdies, right? And then he just didn't have it.
No, he didn't. But like, the Jackson Koivins, Luke Clantons, Michael Thorbjornsons, like those guys, like if they're not in contention in 2 years' time, it's going to be pretty tough. Like they need that level of player. Basically, when you take a look at the European side, like they got it out of Ludwig, they got it out of Victor, they got it out of both Højgaards, like Bobby Mack, like those guys ascended, and that level of American player who is 20 years old, that you just need them to be good right away, like the Europeans were.
Yeah, no, that's a huge piece. Those three in particular definitely jump off the page in terms of what we need moving forward to fill the back end and feel a little bit more confident about things. But that's going to be a tough test. Like the Ludwig thing, it made sense even at the time for him to be on the team. It was obvious that he was, but to be able to kind of break that out at a home game is a little bit easier than to do it on the road. And we're going to have to probably ask those guys to go and do it on the road, hopefully. But even like going back to the Whistling Straits thing, like, it was young Scotty. It was still JT Spieth. We had
Morikawa.
Now still had it. Morikawa was ascending, right? There was just this thought of like we're just getting into the early stuff. Like even a guy like a Matthew Wolff, like we felt like these are just that young generation of guys that were hitting the ground running that could be, anchors to U.S. Ryder Cup teams for the next decade, have all just either gone away or have just either sputtered, like regressed. Really, no one's taking, other than Scotty, taking the steps up forward. And we need those three in particular on the U.S. side to move forward.
Even looking at the mid-tier and back tier of the team, be it Henley, English, Griffin, like that type of player, it was just so reminiscent of the mid-aughts or like I guess 2010s version of that European team where it'd be like Graham McDowell and Ian Poulter, and like those guys became like Ryder Cup guys. But in terms of like level of talent, that's why they were always so massively outgunned in the US, because those were the guys that they were rolling out there. They're like 6th and 7th best players outside of what you see from them now. And it's not that they have elite players across the board. It's just they have guys that just absolutely mash it off the tee.
Yeah. I mean, the European side is amazing. I wonder about like the decision-making process. It feels like, and again, and some of this is done behind the scenes. We don't really know what's going on, but like, it feels like there's a top-down organizational piece on the European side that is nowhere to be found on the US side. And I'm just not sure if it's the PGA of America. And then we're going to get into the President's Cup, where that's, run by the PGA Tour. So like, they're not necessarily working together. Like there needs to be some sort of, we need to use this President's Cup coming up here, Medina, to get some of these early guys that we're just talking about. Hopefully they ascend and make it easy, but like we need to kind of get them some team reps now. We need to hopefully help them understand this is an important piece, because I just don't think that was not necessarily outside of, like you said, JT, a piece of the foundation growing up. These guys are thinking about going out and, winning majors and whatever their local event is. Like they're not necessarily thinking about team golf, because again, Tiger, it wasn't a big piece of Tiger and Phil, and that should have been the previous generation that was kind of like laying this foundation, and that very much came all the way through. And again, they lean on the Seve stuff pretty heavily, but they're just miles apart in terms of, I don't even think it's like that it doesn't matter to the US guys. I think it does matter to them. And I think Keegan did a good job of kind of bridging that gap a little bit more. Like it was very intentional that they stood on the first tee with their arms around each other this time on the US side, because we had like the memes last time where, the European side was doing that, and it just looked like, a business meeting for the US side. Like I think Keegan was trying to turn the screws on that a little bit. It just didn't work. It wasn't enough.
Time to move on and get to what's important. Betting on golf this week, 2 big tournaments. We're going to be covering the Sanderson Farms, Sky, and I think Tom is back from his honeymoon. I think they're going to be covering the Elford Dunhill Links Championship, where a lot of the guys who play in the Ryder Cup are going, at least from the European side. And you got some live guys over there as well. Dustin's playing, Brooks is playing. That's another part of the Ryder Cup discussion from Whistling Straits, is you have some of these big American live guys who just disappeared off the face of the earth, essentially. Yeah. Like Dustin was 5-0 at Whistling Straits.
Dominant. Brooks was awesome. Even Berger, could have fit this type of set. Well, his putting is terrible. So, yeah, I mean, just a lot of the guys that we thought were just going to be like, moving forward, they're just gone.
So the top odds at the Sanderson Farms, code Mayo. Actually, that's not true. Code Mayo at Underdog will get you a deposit bonus of up to $1,000, and any $5 pick'em entry will guarantee you $100 in bonus funds, win or lose. So good time to go deploy that at Underdog. And all the odds are being generated by CoolBet.com right now. Hit the description, get the code, you get a 30% booster up there. And I always have exclusive PME weekly boosts. Akshay is the favorite in Jackson, Mississippi. The Country Club at Jackson is the host course. He's 20-1. Kevin Yu, the defending champion who putted the lights out a year ago, which is atypical for one Mr. Kevin Yu, is 22-1. Minwoo is 25. Davis Thompson's 25. Rasmus Højgaard is on that list as well, coming off of his loss in the singles matches to, who did he play? Ben Griffin. Yeah, on Sunday. He's in this field at 28-1. JT Poston's at 28-1. So is Michael Thorbjornsen. Griot, Hoey, Nikolai Højgaard, Mac Hughes, who's won here before, and Alex Smalley are all 33-1. That's the entire contingent under 40-1 right now. I ran a model up at the Rabbit Hole, code Mayo at betspertsgolf.com to get you that 25% off. You know what? I'll show it to you right now. I'll throw it up here and see what we got going on. You can go to View Expert Rankings. You can go to the Sanderson Farms. I know that you got one up here as well. I got Akshay, Nikolai Højgaard, Kevin Yu, Rico Hoey, and Michael Thorbjornsen is my top 5 in terms of the stat rankings. But the big thing that I wanted to talk about was it's kind of crazy to me that Minwoo is 3rd in odds here. I feel like Minwoo should be the betting favorite.
Yeah, that makes sense. I mean, one of the corollary courses for sure would be Memorial Park in just, bombs and birdies. That makes some sense. I think Akshay was playing a little bit better down the stretch. But yeah, I think you probably see some shorter numbers, 28 or so. I think we were seeing out there on Minwoos. I'm not sure what the best cool bet number is. I'm sure you can boost that bad boy up for to 30 for the people if they wanted it. But yeah, it feels like a spot that would be a good Minwoo piece. I'm also surprised he's here. Like, it feels like he's a, sometimes a swing season Alfred Dunhill guy. Like, he likes to play some DP World Tour events too. But yeah, him being 6 points longer than Kevin Wu, I think is interesting for sure.
Yeah, Minwoo was playing in the final group at the French Open like 2 weeks ago, with the one that our guy Michael Kim ended up winning. Michael Kim played with, I think he played with Brooks on both days. No, he didn't. He didn't play with Brooks on the second day. I think Minwoo actually played with Brooks in the final round as those guys were trying to chase it down. Minwoo makes a ton of sense here. Like, Cameron Champ has won here before. Like, looking at some of the past champions, I thought it was somewhat interesting to, Kevin Yu -23, Luke List -18, Mac Hughes -17, just an all-time putting performance. Sam Burns 22, Sergio 19 under are the past 5 winners. You don't need to hit a ton of fairways here. It's not that difficult to hit out. You don't need to be the biggest hitter, but 4 of those 5 guys are really big hitters and Minwoo can putt. Like, this seems like a perfect spot for him. I'm going to bet Minwoo at whatever the best number I can find is. Hopefully, I'll get Cool Bet to boost it up to 30-1 for me.
Yeah. Driver heavy course. Saw, driver usage here about 15% above tour average. And like you said, there is no missed fairway penalty at all. You see, even though you have a pretty low fairway rates, you still see moving leg really high from the fairway and still above tour average from the rough here as well, right? So it's a long par 72, but there are birdies to be made all over the place. So you're going to need to be scoring, take advantage of those par 4s, because pretty much everyone's taking advantage of the par 5s. I think you're really separating those par 4s. But yeah, I mean, I think distance helps quite a bit, but even so, because there's no missed fairway penalty, you're still seeing a ton of wedges. I'm thinking like 30% of your approach shots are coming from like 50 to 125 here. So yeah, just get it out there. Doesn't matter where you're at, and then sink that putt.
We saw a big boost last year. Like, when you go over to the 2024, like, the 5-year running average for driver usage is 78% off the tee. It was up to 82% a year ago. The highest density of drives over 320%. Driving accuracy last year was 51%. So it doesn't matter whatsoever, like you said. Let's take a look at those proximity ranges, the average shot distributions. Yeah, you're just getting a lot of shots. Like, even 50 to 125 last year was 30% of the shots coming in. So guys that are good from in close, can make 10-foot putts and absolutely mash it, are the path of least resistance. That's not to say that a Mac Hughes type or a Griot type isn't going to go out and just light it up because you can hit it from anywhere on this course. I was just thinking that if I can even take a look at last year, like Kevin Yu followed by Hostler and Glover. This is the one that Keith Mitchell should have won, right? And he like 3-putted coming down the stretch.
Yeah, just disaster down the stretch. Yeah, I think he was almost like, let's see if he was leading after round one. He was very much in play like from the jump. No, David Skins went real low, 12 under in the first round. Thor was right behind it. I know I had Thor here last year. And people, you look overall, you can see guys that had, I think Hayden Springer did really well here last year. Yeah, and he lost over 5 shots on approach, right? Just never, very rarely are we seeing a guy finish top 10 and just bleeding on approach. But, you can get it done here with the putter, can do a lot of the heavy lifting.
Oh, 100%. So yeah, it was Keith Mitchell. He had this one, and then he 3-putted from like 5 feet, I think on 16 or 17, and that just dropped him out of it. And he ended up losing by 1 stroke to Kevin Yu, who won in the playoff over Hostler. But you see, just last year, just take a look at these putting stats. Like if you're not putting, like you have no chance to be in this tournament because it just requires so many birdies. Thorbjornsen lost. He and Hayden Springer were both finished inside the top 10 and ended up losing strokes on approach. But if you're going to lose strokes anywhere, make it around the green because you're just going to hit so many greens in regulation that it's not that important. You obviously don't want to chip yourself out of a tournament, but Kevin, you lost almost a stroke around the greens. It didn't make a difference.
If you're having to scramble a ton anyway and missing the greens, you're basically having to scramble for par in a lot of these situations, and that's not going to get it done anyway. So yeah, it's not a week where I'm leaning heavily on around the green. We do have new around the green data though in the rabbit hole.
Yeah, check this out. I'll put it up on the screen right now. It's shot types around the green. So this is 30 yards and in, what we consider around the green. You can now separate it over time, whether it's from the rough, whether it's from the short grass, so like on the fairway, or from the sand, if that's what you want to look at. And you can see how many shots, what their distribution is of each of those shots, and see what their scrambling percentage is on each of them. This is one of my favorite updates to like any sort of system in a while.
Yeah, we were pushing forward and it took a little bit of time. But yeah, I mean, we'd have weeks where it's like, oh yeah, there's a lot of shave runoffs around the green from the short grass is going to matter a lot. But then it was really hard to like model that because it's hard to get an understanding of like, well, how frequently is that happening compared to scrambling from the rough with like thick aprons and stuff like that. So now we'll be able to have that in season to be able to say, yeah, around the green, short grass matters a ton. And it's, 70% of the around the green shots. So it's going to be great.
So I got some other guys. So Minwoo, I'm going to be in on. Outside of him, I want to bet Akshay because this does seem like a really good Akshay course of, hey, let's go fire at some pins and make some putts. But I don't know if I want to go with 2 of the 3 favorites in a swing season tournament. Putnam rates out pretty well in terms of like scrambling from the rough, but so does Matt Wallace. And we just take a look at everything overall and just overall strokes gained. The guy with the most strokes gained total per round over the past 6 months is Matt Wallace, and he's 40-1. He might even be bigger at some other places too.
Yeah, and he's, the little bit of Ryder Cup hangover, right? We saw him, really upset that he, knew that he was on the outside looking in, had his opportunity to get on that team and, start the chase for Ireland in 2027 starts now for Matt Wallace. This would be a great spot to, start to get some of those points and stack them up. He can make birdies and bunches. I don't hate him down the board at all. I'm a sucker for Thor, so pot committed on Thor, like this again, bombs and birdies is something that he can do quite well. Familiar with the course, obviously was in the mix a little bit last year. Outwards of seeing some 28s. Would love to see a little bit of a bigger number. We'll see if we get there. I see him being pretty popular too. And then Griot models really well for me. I liked how he played at the Pro Core. The putting has been surprisingly better as long as 35. So I like that one a little bit too. I'm kind of like you. Like, do I want to be swimming near the top of the board in a Sanderson Farms birdie fest in October? I don't know that's where I want to be, like building card wise, but I do like those two at the top. And you make a good case for Minwoo, especially if we start to cook out closer to 30. It just kind of feels bad. It feels wrong.
It would be nice if Ricky Castillo could putt because I feel like he would be all over this. And I end up betting this jabroni every single week anyway. But like a top 20 bet is probably the move, although he never finishes inside the top 20. He's a big fan of like T30, T23, T24. Like he ends up putting himself out of these competitions so often. But it feels like he might not necessarily be a real guy, but in the Rico Hoey vein of like someone who's going to suck you in, give you a sweat like every 3 weeks, and then just implode towards the end. Because Howie was
like, see Rico's putter. He moved to the broomstick, and it looked okay at the Pro Core.
I mean, he looked like he was more confident over it, but here's the problem. Even when we take a look at Rico Hoey and how he's been doing, like, yeah, I mean, it got better for him. Like when we take a look at his putting numbers, but he still lost strokes putting. He just didn't lose, like 8 strokes.
We got to find the small wins wherever we can. But yeah, at least it looked a little bit better. I think he had one really poor round with the putter. Maybe it was Saturday at the Pro Core. But yeah, equipment change. Just better juju. Feeling a little bit more confident. You can sell me on him too. But again, I wish he was longer. He's 35 in there with Griot, Hughes, Poston. Like he's near the top of the board. So we're not getting necessarily a huge discount on him.
Well, how do you want to play this then? Like, do you want to play? Like, Minwoo would be my choice from the top of the board. Then I'm going to go to Matt Wallace, that 40 to 50 range. But then I'm kind of open to anything. Do I just jam another one of these guys? You mentioned Thorbjornsen. I like Thorbjornsen. You mentioned Griot. I like Griot. Both Højgaards would theoretically make a ton of sense here. They bomb it and they putt.
Yeah, there's another one that's a little bit more interesting. It is a Pat Mayo special as well. A young Texan. Beats up on the Corn Ferry Tour, but when he gets over on the PGA Tour, it hasn't been great so far. 65-1 for Pearson Coody.
Pearson Coody? Oh.
You could sell me on a Pearson Coody 65 in a putting contest where you got to chase it out there off the tee. So
yeah, his putter has kind of wavered back and forth recently. Like that used to be kind of his bread and butter. His approach play is just really bad.
Yeah, but we saw that you can top 10 here without really, you can lose every round on approach if you're just singing those putts. So I haven't looked at him in depth yet, but the number jumps out as I kind of crawl down the board to look for some viable, just pedigree. Some Tom Kim down here at 90-1 is fascinating. Not betting Tom Kim, but it's just funny that he's 90-1 in this field. Yeah, that's the Pearson Coody number is long-ish for me. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, you're not in on like 40-1 Max Homa?
I'm cheering for Max. I want to see him do well. It's not going to get my money. But yeah, let's see if he can get back a little bit and play. It's just never for 4 rounds consecutively. So probably in there somewhere. Just he's not going to get it.
Well, let's take a look at last 6 months for that 50 to 100 range, because it seems like there's going to be there's the short par 4. Some of the par 5s are going to be attackable from this range. If there's anyone in here, Griot is 6th over the last 6 months. You mentioned Houston as one of the crossover courses. Is it time to bet some wacky Valimaki again?
It's not bad. Valimaki plays pretty well on typically harder courses. Well, I don't know. He showed up in Houston. Longer golf courses work really well for him. He actually, I think, modeled pretty well for me. If I can where it is. Yeah, he's some wacky Valimaki. Yeah, he's 10th in my model, which is, it's not bad. And part of it is really good with the wedges, the birdie or better rate both in my model. Putting overall, both on Bermuda and just raw putting over the last 6 months has been pretty solid. Probably a finishing position bet for me, but he's in the mix.
Yeah, he tied with Matt Wallace in Switzerland like 3 weeks ago. They were both tied for 2nd there, and then he was 8th at the Danish Golf Challenge the 2 weeks before that. So once he left the PGA Tour, went over to Euro, he had consecutive top 10s, and he missed the cut at the Pro Tour, but that was with really good players in the field. 66-1, I don't know if that is exactly where I want to go with this, but I mean, Kevin Roy's never going to make enough putts to do anything. Is the problem. But there's a couple of those guys in the Sergio won here. This was the tournament that Sergio won when he was putting with his eyes closed.
Yeah. Kevin Roy. And the other one for me is Jesper Svensson, who I don't know, has played okay at times, can chase it out there, and the putting is okay. And he's a really good wedge player. I have him, 13th and 50 to 100. And that guy, because of his distance, when you kind of think about the gaps of 50 to 125 is a pretty wide range. We'd imagine that guy's going to be spending most of that in the 50 to 100 range because he drives it so well. So Jesper Svensson is another one that, maybe it's a finishing position bet. I don't know what the outright number is on Svensson, but that one could be interesting as well.
Are we looking at this the wrong way? Because when I go back and read those, like you tell me if you would say, like, well, let's rate these guys on like out of 10. If I tell you these guys' name, like a 10 out of 10 is Sam Burns or Taylor Montgomery on the greens, and then 1 is Rico Hoey kind of thing. And let's think about these past winners. Kevin Yu, how would you rate him as a putter?
Yeah, I mean, I'll tee you up for the next one. He's a Luke List All-Star. He's
2 out of 10.
2 out of 10.
Luke List.
Yeah, I mean, he's historically been probably a 1 or a 2 for sure.
Mac Hughes.
Mac Hughes is 9 or a 10.
Sam Burns.
Same, 9 or a 10.
Sergio.
2.
So what you want here, from what I can see, is guys that are absolutely crush it on the greens, or guys who are absolutely terrible but crush it getting to the green. And it seems like bad putters can find their stroke here. Yeah,
I don't think these are very challenging putting surfaces. Let's see here. Bermuda, they typically are fast. Nothing in terms of green size or anything that looks tricky. We're probably spending too much time with decent putters. We need to be looking more at the extremes. So Svensson is a guy that you could sell me on. 60 is out there, 55. So that's kind of the yes for Svensson. Pearson Coody, a little bit of a 2 and a 9 putting wise to kind of spread out the card compared to where Grillo will surprise you. I think he surprised both of us when we saw the recent putting numbers for Grillo. They're not necessarily what we have come to expect over the last 5 to 10 years of him. He's playing, he's putting significantly better, and the ball striking remains great.
So let's take a look at some of these ball striking guys who can't putt. Rico's number 1. Ben Coles is number 2. Akshay putts, but he's also in the top 5. Thomas Rosenmuller. That's a guy that sky bets every single week. Maybe he's a look here. What are his odds?
I think he played well at the Pro Tour too, if I'm not mistaken.
But he's 3rd in ball striking and 118th in the field in putting.
Oh my gosh, he fits perfectly.
He was T64 at the Pro Tour, where he gained.
Oh, never mind.
He gained 8 strokes ball striking and lost 7 strokes putting.
I mean, Isco, he showed up. These alt events, including the 3M Open. Again, if he would have putted it all that week, the ball striking numbers were pretty good. These are the kind of guys in Corrales. So he's Rosenmuller is definitely a dog in some of these lower field alt events. Texas, he was there, missed the cut. Shockingly, could not do anything on or around the green. But the ball striking numbers were great. So you're making a case for a solid look, right? He fits the mold.
And this guy ended the season really, really poorly. It was like 3 cuts and 4 starts. But Lee Hodges struck me as someone who has the sort of game for here. And every now and again, he lights it up on the greens. And maybe this could be a place for him. But I just don't know where his game is at. It's hard to judge with some of these guys that we just haven't seen in like 2 months now. Yeah.
And like how relevant is anything that you would find from like recent form, because it's been such a large gap. So, the Patrick Rogers slappies can sell themselves on this week too, right? He can send it and the putter gets hot. Not for me. Isaiah Salinda, should we look at any Mexico guys? They're guys that can absolutely nuke it off the tee. I don't know what he's done as of late, but he's out there at 90 in the Kevin Roy, Hayden Springer area. Putting him at 100 is probably a pretty good look.
Yeah.
He modeled very well as well.
I get suckered in. Putnam tends to always do well. I'm taking a look at Nick Dunlap right now.
Oh, he's like 300, isn't he?
He's 250 to 1. I think I bet him at this tournament at like 18 to 1 last year.
Yeah.
Like, what do you make of some of these guys? Be it Tom Kim, Max Homa, Nick Dunlap's another one. Like guys who are good or were good and now apparently suck.
I know. Francesco Molinari's in the field.
Oh God! That's fresh off his fight with Ted Scott.
Yeah, you got the blood pressure going up a little bit on Saturday. It's tough. You wonder if watching your peers, especially like Max, in an event that he played all 5 sessions in Rome, right? And this year he was home. Yeah. So, and he was on, he had time to pop on No Laying Up to, give his commentary. So I wonder if he's, motivated to kind of, hit the ground running. And like I said, the 2027 starts now, you start to, make your headway for that. So Aaron Wise, 400 to 1. Another guy who
Nah.
used to be good. That's not anymore. But
Okay, so
way down board.
I really should be giving Rico Hoey more of a chance here. Maybe he is like kind of the perfect guy, and he is 33 to 1. That just sounds so bad betting as someone who regularly bets him at 100 or 200. To see him at 33 is just like, ugh.
That's my problem with it too, because I kind of like him. I was at least encouraged to see, the lab belly putter, and he seemed to have a little bit more confidence, changing it up a little bit. The ball striking is always pretty good. These weaker fields, he's solid. Driver heavy courses, he's solid. I want it to be like, I don't know, 40, 50 maybe. So it's a little tricky, especially considering I kind of wanted to take a shot at Thor and Griot. It makes Hoey a little tough.
Yeah. Okay. So here's what I'm going to do. Let's do some quick picks, guys, that we're going to be fully committed to. I'm going to bet Minwoo and Matt Wallace. Those are two definitely on my card this week. And then I'm going to take a look at Valimaki, Rosenmuller, Salinda, and both Højgaards and Rico Hoey, and have to whittle it down from that bunch. But I'll commit to Minwoo and Wallace right now.
I will commit to Thor and Griot. And then I'm probably going to fire on either Jesper Svensson or Pearson Coody if I do a little bit more work. Svensson has the edge probably. He modeled really well for me comparatively. Just want to look at Pearson Coody a little bit closer. But I like the Valimaki look too. He's probably another one that should be given a little bit. So I'll probably swing with one of those as my third.
Of note, the guys that I have listed right now over the past 4 months as the highest earners in strokes gained off the tee, the top three are Cameron Champ, Rico Hoey, and Kevin Yu. Two of those guys have won at this course.
Yeah. And you do have to take advantage off the tee here. It's easy to gain off the tee, or it's average, easy to gain on approach. But yeah, you are, I think, losing a little bit with having to take a little bit longer approach shots here, knowing that your peers are going to have wedges in their hands.
Shipping it onto the green?
Yeah, 1,000%. So, you could see the JJ Spawns and Russell Henleys of the world somehow, hit and hold greens with hybrids from 230 out. But I don't necessarily expect that from Ricky Castillo and Seamus Power.
Seamus Power. The other guys who are up there in strokes gained off the tee over that same sample size: David Ford, Davis Thompson, Salinda, Thorbjornsen, Rosenmuller, your boy Jesper Svensson, Nikolai Højgaard, William Mao. He has a win. So
yeah,
don't be sleeping on Chairman Mao over here. Trevor Cohn, Sam Stevens, Thirsty Lawrence is in this. Thirsty Lawrence might actually be a look. Lawrence,
he's long right too.
What are his odds? I didn't even see him on the odds sheet. He's 100 to 1. That's actually a bet.
Yeah.
Because he is so good / bad with his putter. It's kind of hilarious, but he's like kind of perfect for here. He's going to drive it well. He's a pretty good wedge player, pretty good around the greens. It's just, can he get that going? Griot, Springer, Coody, Smalley. Like most of these names that I'm naming are the guys who finished inside the top 15 last year.
Yeah. You should probably just not do anything at the top of the board. Just fire it. Putnam, Thirsty Lawrence, Kevin Roy, Salinda, these guys at 80 or longer. Probably not a bad look too.
That might be the move. So maybe I'll end up with maybe I'll generate a 6-pack. I'll have the full bets in the newsletter and up on betsperts.com a little bit later on during the week. Once I make some finalized decisions. You don't have to make every decision on a Monday morning, Noonan.
It's true. I typically like to get in early. This year, a little bit more was I waited sometimes so you would see numbers drift. Definitely feel like if I like a guy that I think is going to be really popular, very often, texting with Geoff early on a Monday morning before, you guys even pop on. I'm like, all right, well, Jeff's going to talk about this guy. He will tell me sometimes like, hey, I know Pat likes this guy. I'm like, all right, these guys are going to move the market. I'm going to get in early on a guy. But sometimes I think it's okay to wait until, Tuesday, Wednesday when you get tee times and if there's weather advantages. So yeah, wait a little bit.
Code Mayo at betspertsgolf.com will get you access to the rabbit hole, so take advantage of that. You can follow Noonan on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter and join that newsletter, all right? And you can find all of my columns up on betspertsgolf.com for free starting last week. So this week, it's going to be there too, all right? I'm Pat Mayo. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.
Pat Mayo Experience! Experience!